This film has been prepared to show how to meet fire emergencies aboard tank vessels and other ships. Fire prevention is the first and most important step in controlling shipboard fires. Drills are necessary. Every crewman must know the station bill and the location of firefighting equipment. He must know how equipment operates, how to handle the gear before he has to use it on a fire. Detection and proper initial action. All fires start small. Pass the word as soon as they're spotted, then go to work fast. He must know proper firefighting techniques, what type of equipment to use on different fires. Fire prevention. Fire is a hazard wherever petroleum products are handled. The heads-up crewman keeps this in mind on and off watch. Coast Guard regulations require that ullage screens be kept in place. A crewman follows the rules about disposal of cigarette butts. He's always careful about the proper times and places to smoke. A good crewman is a good housekeeper. He keeps working and living spaces clear of paper, shavings, oily rags, and other trash that might start or feed a fire, and removes them. Almost every shipboard operation is planned to prevent accident and risk of fires. Here the bonding wire is connected to the ship's hull before the hose connection to shore is made. Fire prevention becomes a crewman's routine. Part of that routine is the weekly fire drill. All hands must turn out promptly, properly clothed, and with life jackets securely tied. Fire hoses and fittings are tested under pressure, and other gear may be demonstrated at a fire drill. Location of firefighting equipment. The fire main is the backbone of a tanker's firefighting system. Hydrants are located above and below decks so that a fire in any accessible area can be reached with two streams of water, one of them from a single length of hose. The fire main delivers water for extinguishment or for cooling from an inexhaustible source, the sea. Many tankers have monitors which put out a straight stream useful for sweeping a fire overboard or for cooling an area near a fire to prevent it from spreading. Foam can also be applied with a similar type of monitor. At hose stations below deck, hose is kept connected and faked or rolled to run free. At other stations, water-type extinguishers are ready for immediate use. Dry chemical extinguishers are properly racked for easy removal. Cans of foam are stored in easy access racks. All stations are listed on the station bill with which crewmen must be familiar. During fire drill, the men get to know how their equipment operates. Hose with an all-purpose nozzle attached is run out. The nozzle is removed for a second length of hose. Hose connections are made hand-tight. Male ends of hose are always run out in the direction of the fire. The all-purpose nozzle is fitted on the male end of the hose. When two or more men are in position at the nozzle, the signal for water pressure is given. The valve is never opened until nozzle men are ready, and then it is opened slowly. The handle is brought to the fog position. The nozzle design causes the water stream to break up into high-velocity fog with good force and range. The fog heads must be kept clean. When the handle is pulled back all the way, a straight stream is produced. For nozzles with an internal strainer, use the straight stream to flush the strainer if it clogs while fog is being made. Use straight stream to douse a wood or trash fire, or a fire in a mattress. Use straight stream to wash burning oil overboard, or to cool surfaces near the fire. But never try to put out an oil fire with a straight stream. An 1.5-inch hose must be manned by at least 2 men, a 2.5-inch hose by at least 3 men. They keep down low where it is cooler and use a sweeping motion to widen the effective area of fog. Water pressure is always tested before going into action. A backup team on a second hose should be manned if there is crew available. Water fog puts out a fire primarily by cooling it. Sometimes in a confined space, the heat turns the fog into steam, which helps put the fire out. Effective protection is provided to the firefighters behind the fog curtain. Constant sweeping action permits coverage of a greater area. As they sweep back and forth, the teams protect each other from the heat. Normal fire main pressure gives the typical fog pattern shown here. Ordinary work clothes are adequate for firefighting if they protect all parts of the body. In response to the general alarm, all hands should don a life jacket. To insert the low-velocity fog applicator into the all-purpose nozzle, the fog head is first removed. Then the applicator is attached. There are different types of connections, so care must be taken that they match up and be ready for emergency use. The low-velocity fog applicator has many uses. Because of the angle near the end, it can be inserted in an ullage hole. When held aloft, the applicator gives protection to the firefighters. 3 men make up an applicator team. 1 man handles the applicator, the next man operates the nozzle with the handle in the fog position, and the 3rd man keeps a dip in the hose so that the applicator may be moved easily up or down. The applicator head produces a fine fog that has greater cooling qualities than high-velocity fog, but it has less force and range. With the applicator attached to the nozzle, the firefighter can reach and put out fires in hard-to-get-at places. The length of the applicator allows the firefighter to stay back from the heat while reaching around corners or obstructions to put out the fire. Removing the all-purpose nozzle and attaching the mechanical foam nozzle permits the fire hose to be used to apply foam to a fire. Here, a 2.5-inch foam nozzle is attached to a hose of similar diameter. When the pickup tube is inserted in the can, liquid is drawn up into the nozzle and mixed there with water and air to produce foam. A 3-man foam team goes into action. 2 men on the hose and 1 man carrying the foam can. A backup team brings in low-velocity fog as protection for the foam team. Teamwork is required in the approach of a foam and backup team. When pickup tube is inserted, foam is formed and lobbed in the direction of the fire. When foam is being applied, it is important to bounce it off a vertical surface, a bulkhead or hatch top, and let it flow onto the surface of the burning oil. Water fog is being used only to protect the firefighters. Don't put water fog on the foam. It will retard the buildup of the foam blanket. Foam has a tendency to stick together and build up a blanket even on vertical surfaces. A can of foam lasts about 1.5 minutes, so additional cans must be brought promptly to the nozzle. Detection and proper initial action. Smoking in bed is one of the most common causes of shipboard fires. Don't do it. Should fire be discovered in a bunk, the first thing to do is pass the word, get assistance. Any small fire is dangerous. Then control the mattress fire with any of the portable extinguishers. Here, a cartridge-operated water type is being used. However, a fire in a mattress is always deep-seated, and large quantities of water will be needed to soak in and extinguish embers. Never assume that a mattress fire has been extinguished. Throw the mattress into the shower if the vessel is alongside. It would be dangerous to throw a burning mattress into the harbor where the water surface might be covered with inflammable liquids. Soak it thoroughly under the shower. If at sea, however, throw the burning mattress overboard. A small electric motor simulates a fire in the engine room aboard ship. The first crew member to see the fire passes the word at once. This is the first thing to do. The engineer on watch secures the power when he hears the call of fire and calls the bridge. Fire in the engine room! Fire in the engine room! The man next brings suitable firefighting gear to the scene of the fire, in this case, a portable dry chemical. He tests it first, then starts fighting the fire. Others on watch come prepared to help. A backup man stands by with a portable CO2 extinguisher. The proper steps in putting out another shipboard fire have been shown in this drill. But all shipboard fires are not drills. Only training makes this kind of firefighting possible. Most crewmen get their only chance to face real fires in drills ashore. These are the most common types of portable extinguishers, first aid for the firefighter, with which he can put out any small fire. To operate the portable CO2 extinguisher, pull the locking pin. Grasp the nozzle by its handle, then operate the squeeze grip. Squeezing controls the flow of CO2. A sweeping motion widens the area blanketed by the gas, which is heavier than air. Proper firefighting techniques. The extinguisher is tested before approaching the fire. He keeps the wind at his back and lays down a blanket of CO2 starting at the edge of the tank nearest him. When the fire is out, he pauses to check for possible reflash, then backs away. For small oil or gasoline fires, another recommended portable is a foam extinguisher. To operate, turn upside down and direct stream at a vertical surface, allowing it to flow down over the fire. The extinguisher may also be set down on the ground or deck while being used. The portable foam extinguisher will also control small trash, wood, or similar fires. As foam contains water, never use it on electrical fires. To operate the dry chemical extinguisher, pull the locking pin, depress the puncturing lever, then squeeze the grip to discharge the powder. Let's see it up close. Pull the pin. After the pin is pulled, depress the lever. This punctures a cylinder of gas which forces out the powder when the grip is squeezed. Always test before using on a fire. Sweep rapidly with the nozzle to scatter powder widely over the flames. Fire at an ullage hole is put out when a stream of dry powder momentarily cuts off the air above the screen from the vapor inside the tank. fire in a paint locker, on a bulkhead, or any vertical surface must be fought starting at the bottom and working up. The extinguisher is tested before use. Then the powder stream is directed at the base of the fire. Starting at the top would result in continual reflashing from below. This fire represents a broken pipeline. Gasoline is running down from the top. Again, it must be fought starting at the bottom. To avoid chasing the fire around and around, the firefighters must work at about right angles to each other. The powder stream affords protection to the men from the heat of the flames. A broken flange in a gasoline line under pressure is on fire. First, close the valve to cut the fuel from the fire. Water fog cools the area and permits a man to get to the valve and close it. Generally, water fog will not cool a gasoline fire enough to put it out. A well-directed blast of dry chemical puts it out quickly. An ullage hole fire can be put out in several ways. If blanketed with fog, it will go out. The air above the tank has been briefly cut off from the vapor inside the tank. If the area is cool enough to allow a man to approach, the cover can be closed and the fire smothered. This is a good example of how to put out a large oil fire with water fog. Sweeping motion is established. Wind is at back. Backup team is in place. To reach the near edge of the flames, an operation called goosenecking is used. The nozzle man is given a bite of hose to enable him to sweep downward in front of him. Stand by to gooseneck. Gooseneck. Stand by to level off. Level off. Sweeping is continued to cool off tank sides and surface of the oil. Care is taken to keep the nozzle parallel to the surface in order not to dig it up and agitate the oil, which would slow down the cooling process. The backup team is always ready if the fire goes out of control. Cooling is slow if a fire has been burning any length of time and the oil is hot. The man checks for reflash before securing the nozzle. Hot tank sides might cause a reflash. The men back away but remain alert. When a straight stream of water is thrown on the fire, the surface is agitated and flames, vapor, and oil envelop the entire area. Never use a straight stream on an oil fire. The straight stream is cut off and fog produced at the nozzle. The applicator backup team also moves in. High velocity and low velocity fog have quickly brought the fire under control. Cooling continues until the fire in and around the tank is extinguished. An unmanned hose is dangerous. Cut the pressure off before you pick it up. This is probably the largest fire in the country used for training purposes. Two teams using 1.5-inch hose equipped with all-purpose nozzles tackle this very large fire. The wind is at their backs. The fog patterns cool the oil and protect the men from the intense heat. They keep nozzles parallel to the surface. Teamwork enables them to move the fire gradually back. An open deck fire could be swept overboard in this manner. When the fire is out, the teams back away, watching for a reflash. A large gasoline fire is attacked in a two-team operation. One team applies foam. The other gives the firefighters protection with low-velocity fog from the applicator. Generally, gasoline can't be cooled with water to a point where it will go out. Smothering is needed rather than cooling. Foam piles up in a tough blanket of bubbles that shut out the air and smother the flames. The foam stream has a range of 30 feet, so the firefighters can stay back. The blanket of foam gradually spreads over the entire tank surface. The backup team is always in a protective position, ready to move in if required. Foam is recommended for fighting fires involving gasoline and other low flash point liquids. It is also useful on fires too large to sweep with water fog. Since it flows freely, foam is useful on fires in places that can't be reached, such as areas under the floor plates. The foam blanket tends to stick together. It flows around obstructions and gives complete coverage. The water tends to break up a blanket of foam, so should not be put onto a fire where foam is being used as the extinguishing agent. Here is a fire in a mock-up of a ship's engine room. The flames coming from the fire below are over 40 feet high. As soon as the seaman sees the fire, he dogs the door and passes the word. Aboard ship, vents and skylights would be closed and blowers secured. Two teams with all-purpose nozzles move up quickly to start cooling the doors. After the door is cooled enough to open, the men attack near the edges of the fire inside. The adjacent areas are cooled, and they gradually force their way in, keeping low. Still low and sweeping, sweeping. A rough fire and a big one has been licked through proper firefighting techniques and plenty of courage. Bulkheads, gratings, and railings should be cooled down to prevent the ignition of any lingering vapors. The fire team must remain alert for any possible reflash as they leave the area. Remember that proper equipment, available when needed, proper techniques, and plenty of guts can arm you to fight even a big fire. In conclusion, know locations of equipment and stations. You may have to get equipment under emergency conditions. Keep all equipment ready for immediate use. Stow hoses so they come out of rack without fouling. Know how equipment works. Be certain that nozzles and applicators will fit hose lines in use. Report a fire first, as soon as you spot it or learn of it, no matter how small it is. Then fight it with the gear and people at hand. Cool adjacent areas to help the firefighters and prevent spread of the fire. Bring backup equipment when you report to the scene of the fire. Don't stand around. Lend a hand. Help fight the fire. Prevent fires. But if one starts, fight it. Even big ones can be put out. It takes teamwork and knowledge of how your gear works, and guts. Take care of shipboard firefighting gear. Rely on it. Use it right. Experience shows that more men are lost going over the side when fire breaks out than are hurt by sticking to the ship and fighting the fire. You can save your ship. You can save your life and those of your shipmates by knowing how to fight a fire.